Alright guys, Happy Camper here, and we're back, of course, in Bellacula, of course, in the Schweizer, and we're going to do some emergencies today in this helicopter. So we'll just get this collective friction off. After on the entire checklist, everything is how it should be. No warnings or cautions, temperatures and pressures are in the green. So we'll take off, and we'll head out to where it looks the best, and then we'll come into the field. Um, at about 1,000 feet and cut the throttle to do an auto rotation. And we're gonna on our first ones, of course, put the throttle in again until we get comfortable with it. Quite a few clouds out that way, not that bad out to the east here. So we'll head out to the east. There's not much wind today. Actually, there is more or less none. The wind is calm. So the clouds should stay more or less where they are as well, which would be pretty sweet. But we'll come out here and we'll do kind of like a strange circuit, or not really a circuit, but just to get some altitude here. I do have the field elevation set to 0 feet, so when we are indicating 1,000 feet on our altimeter, we're actually 1,000 feet above the field. I just done that to make it easier for myself while I'm learning the auto rotation of this helicopter, so I don't have to worry too much about, uh, you know, uh, minusing 117 feet or whatever. It's not a big deal, and it's something that you obviously have to get used to and comfortable with. But for the first ones, I'm just going to keep it like it is now. We'll get up to cruise speed, and I've read up a bit about auto rotation in the Schweizer. Um, Unfortunately, there wasn't any documentation with the actual add-on by Dreamfoil Creation on auto rotation or auto rotation speeds. So I googled that and I found a pretty good document showing that 52, 53s are optimal, but of course shooting between 50 and 55 is the best. That's gonna get you far enough. That's gonna get you what you want. That's the best speed for entering the flare, and that's the best speed for gliding. So we'll gain at 1,000 feet now, so we'll nose up a bit, and we're reaching cruise flight here at about 65. We're a bit heavy because we've got the helicopter fueled all the way up. Put a bit more manifold pressure here, and we'll cut the throttle, and we'll lower collective first, and then we'll cut the throttle as we have entered the auto rotation, and then we'll engage the throttle when we get into our flare. Alright, so collective down, throttle's off, and this might have been a bit short because I'm used to AS350, and that glides very well, and yeah. Alright, throttle comes back on, collective comes up, and we're going around. So that's of course the decision altitude being at 300 feet. I made that decision a lot before because I could see that there was no way. The glide distance in the Schweizer is not quite as good as in the AS350, which is of course understandable. AS350 is quite superior in a lot of things. It has a lot of power, has a lot of road area, has a high cruise speed, a high speed for entering auto. All of that is very high and very good, but we did get a lot of descent rate, so we'll get back up to 1,000, which we have actually already passed, and we'll come back in, and we'll get a lot closer to the field. It doesn't hurt to land in the middle of the runway, or maybe far even. Better than landing short. Our decision altitude is 300, but we are just doing the power recovery autos at the moment, so that's not too big of a deal because we're not going to be touching the ground anyways. So all we have to worry about is not flying into some trees. Alright, so cruise speed of about 75 here. We'll come above this clearing that we have down here. And our lower collective, throttle off, and then come down. We'll see. So we'll do it just above the edge here, and we'll see how it goes. So, lowering collective, throttle off. Alright, I'm going to go right nose, and we want to make sure that rotor RPM doesn't get out of hand. We want to keep an eye on speed. This is going to be short even. How interesting. Okay, so I think I forgot to watch the speed at the end of the climb then. I think I got a bit too slow. I am actually not entirely sure. So I'll definitely have to do that again. But this helicopter falls out the sky more or less like a brick. Compared to the AS350, I'll definitely have to get used to that. That is something very different. I think I didn't get too much of a result of entering the auto from just lowering the collective. It didn't feel just right. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to come cruising along at about 25 manifold pressure at 1,000 feet. And then I'll cut the throttle and then lower collective and see if that helps out getting the training in with the... Oh, it's a cloud. Clouds seem to have moved a bit actually. Let's see if these clouds get in the way of our training. I did have another thing that I wanted to train as well, being stock pedal landings. They're quite simple in this, and we've got no wind, so it'll be pretty good conditions for it. But we'll definitely try it. These clouds should be alright. So we got quite a lot of speed here, so we should be able to cut here. Cut, and collector comes down. That nose really didn't want to drop. Okay, I've got the RPM under control. I want to slow down a tad bit more, which is going to give us a bit more rotor RPM. We want to keep it here. We want to keep it here. We want to do so, and we want to keep that all the way down to the flare. Flare. Throttle comes in. Collector comes up. Okay, so that wasn't so bad. Definitely a lot different to the AS350. I like it, but it's very different. Especially different in one glide's distance, and two, it's a lot more fiddly. Like it's a lot more sensitive, which isn't a bad thing. But obviously, it's because it's such a small helicopter. Every small input really does mean a lot. We'll get one more auto in here, and I think we'll try to do a full down. I feel fairly confident with it. Seems like we've got the RPM to complete it, and it might be a bit rough, but as long as we don't break the helicopter or our back, we should be good. And even if we do, heck, it's a simulator. We'll live. So probably about 30 inches of manifold pressure here. We're at 1,000 feet, and we'll come around. So right here, throttle comes out, nose stays up, collective is in the floor, raising collective a tad bit, just to not overspeed that rotor. Okay, just keep an eye on the speed, keep an eye on the speed. Speed is good, RPM is a bit low. We've got it in the flare. Got it in the flare, it's not too bad. Speed's a bit slow. In the flare, in the flare, in the flare, racing collective. That was a tough landing. 441 feet per minute, that is a bit rough. Helicopter's not broken, but that could definitely be a lot better. I'm going to quickly watch that back. Just want to see how bad it actually looks from outside. Be real quick. So I'm mostly interested here in the touchdown. Yeah, okay, so I raised collective a bit too slow, and then I kept on raising it even when we had touchdown. And I think we need some forward speed when we touch down, because I landed pretty much at 0 forward speed, and it seems that what I have seen of videos, they land with a forward speed where they actually slide for quite a bit, so probably maybe even 10 knots. Alright, but we'll do an stuck pedal landing here. That's gonna be fun. So what's gonna happen is we're gonna come down, we're gonna stay at about 60 knots, and then when we get down to the runway, we'll start lowering collective, and our lows should be to the left of the runway at that point. And then when we start adding collective again to slow us down and to keep us flying, the nose is going to start moving from the left to the right, and when it's about center with the runway, we're going to slowly touch it down on the runway, just gently, and we're going to slide along at maybe 20 knots for a touchdown, but we're going to be sliding along slowly, and that's going to be it. So we'll try that, and then we'll call it a day. So pedal is stuck now, so I'm not going to touch the pedals. So important thing is we want to keep our speed up until we're sure we can make the field, or until we're right above the airfield, basically right above the runway. We want to keep our speed at about 60. Actually going 70 now, because in the descent we were getting quite a lot. Luckily this is a left-hand descent, and as I talked about in my, I believe the first video, that does help you out quite a bit. I'm getting a bit slow, 55, but not a problem. So we don't have a lot of collective in here. You can keep an eye on the manifold pressure, and you've seen the manifold pressure being quite low. And our nose is to the left, so that's a good sign. I'm going to start raising collective, and it should start moving to the right. There it goes. And we're just going to gently touch it down. There we go. And on the ground. Sweet. That wasn't so bad. So usually when we do normal landings, we want to keep it below 100 feet per minute for sure. For these kind of emergencies, anything below 300-400 is pretty alright. But of course, a stock pedal landing is not really like a very dangerous situation in the way that you have an engine failure, for example. That would be a lot more severe. Obviously, you can still fly, and you can keep your cool a lot better when you have only got a stock pedal. But I think we'll actually do one more auto rotation, because I really want to end on a good note, and I want to end on a decent auto rotation, and with the thoughts about keeping my speed up a bit better, and then also keeping speed on actual landing, so maybe going forward with about 10 knots on the landing. That should be good. So I noticed that this helicopter slowed down a lot in the flare. Like, it slowed down fast. And our speed is obviously quite slow coming down compared to the AS350, and it's also a lot lighter helicopter, so it's gonna be a bit easier to slow down when you put the nose in a nose high attitude. So we're gonna come up and we're gonna initiate another auto rotation, and basically it's gonna be a matter of right pedal and aft cyclic, and when all of that is put in, it's gonna be holding that speed, coming back down to 25 inches manifold pressure. Start descending a bit in the turn. Alright, throttle being cut out in 3, 2, 1. Throttle's out. Aft right cyclic. Going collective. Quite good. Speed's quite good. Right pedal's in there. A bit fast. Okay, that was a lot better. That was 314 feet per minute. That's acceptable. Things to improve on: keeping center line, keeping speed, and judging the flare height. So I think I flared a bit too high on that one, but it is actually a lot more intimidating in this than the S350. Because you're in a very small helicopter and it is plummeting towards the ground and you don't seem to be going very fast. So that is a bit scary. But as soon as you enter that flare, you know you're going to be alright. You know the flare takes off a lot of the speed really quick and it keeps your altitude really well. It really is, effective at completing an auto rotation. But due to that kind of fear, and especially if you don't know the helicopter well, I'm kind of blaming it on that fear of going into the ground because you can't flare hard enough. But I'll be a bit more brave next time. But we'll touch it down here, and I'll if I can keep a hover while talking. Alright, I think that was a bit far forward. Yeah. Oh well. And I'll shut it down and I'll show you something real quick when the engine is or helicopter is shut down. So I'll be right back. Alright, so I've gone to the part where after the rotors stop, I need to do some stuff. Well, how do we get the rotors to stop? Because they're spinning quite fast and we don't have a rotor brake in this. Well, luckily, we can slow them down by actually physically slowing down the rod going to the tail rotor, the shaft going to the tail rotor that basically keeps that spinning. There's a hand there, and if you hold and drag on that, it's going to slow the rotors right down, just like that. And if you drag to the right, then you can spin them around. Oh, am I being wrong here? All right, so if you drag them down, they can be spun around. But we're basically going to spin it. You can also spin up by the main rotor and by the tail rotor as well. But we're going to spin it so that. Okay, so right, it's dependent on your view, of course. good. I'm going to spin it so the main rotor here is just over the tail rotor. Stop it. And then we're going to drag from here down to there, and that's going to tie the rotors in. How sweet is that? Here, down to the skids, tie the rotors, and here and down to the skids. So now the rotor blades are, of course, strapped in, tie down, so the wind won't do any funny stuff with it. We can also put the wheels down, just like that, and at that point, we can actually drive by going cyclic back, and then you can turn by going rudder left right. So I can drive it forward, and if I had a hanger, I could put it in that basically. It's a really cool feature. These small things that just absolutely awesome about Dreamfoil Creations newer helicopters. The S350 has a couple of cool features, but not as much as this one. This one is on a completely new level, and you can drive it around. And yeah, I'm seeing this being a really fun way to start a mission as well, getting your helicopter out of a hangar and dragging it to the helipad, getting the tie downs off of it, and getting started from cold and dark, from truly cold and dark in the hangar. So that's a quick thing that I wanted to show you, but of course everything's safe here, and we'll get everything done. So it's actually tie downs on as a checklist feature. Awesome. We'll put the checklist away, and then we'll get the battery off, get the beacon, position manual lights, and get these shut off. Fuel out. Could you go out, please? Thank you. And we'll get the battery off. Alright, sweet. So that was basically it for this video. Oh god, yes, I just let my stick go. Yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I think in the next episode we'll explore the floats on this helicopter, and we'll go and land in some river, maybe out by the ocean, out by the actual town of Bella Coola. I'm sure that'll be fun. Something that I have not done in helicopters before, so I'm looking forward to that. But if you guys enjoyed this episode, let me know. Also, always awesome to see likes and comments on the videos. Lets me know that you guys like them, and it's awesome to see the feedback. So if you did enjoy, go and do that. And I'll see you guys in the next one.